Hello everyone! Today I, and hopefully you, will learn about bass. I spoke to my high school math teacher, Vince Bruchesi, the owner, the president, the founder of Totem Acoustics out of Montreal, Canada. And today we'll present his sound philosophy through the Totem Tribe Solution Sub. So this sub is all about speed. And why? Because sound is, to be musical, requires a lot of speed, according to Vince. According to him, 2/3 of the sound pleasure comes from speed of sound. So why? Because when it comes to bass is not only about the attack and the movement of air. So people tend to think that a large woofer is better for large bass. Well, a large woofer doesn't have the same speed, cannot have the same speed. So here we have 8 inches woofers, which is pretty small for a subwoofer, but they're doubled and they have incredible speed. It's a sealed cabinet as well, so it's more dynamic, and it's a very thin cabinet and it's concealed, so there's less resonances. You don't want to hear the wood of the woofer, of the cabinet. You want to hear the woofers themselves as much as possible. So speed does not only the attack, but the sustainability of the sound, so the trail of the sound. So when there's a note, a bass note like boom, you don't want to hear just the bum. You want to hear the bum, the vibration that follows, and that creates the note and the harmonics, and that is reached by speed. So that's why this subwoofer has 2 small subwoofers rather than a large one, so it's faster, and the 2 ones create a density. So 2 8-inches woofers create like a 16 inches woofer, kind of, with more density. But at very high speed, they're doubled, so they have the exact same signal. What I learned also from Vince, because he's well versed in electronics as well, so not only maths, because he was my math teacher, but physics and electronics, I learned that the components inside the woofer need to be extremely well assembled. So it's not only the quality of the parts, it's not only the specs, and the measurements. Sound is much more complex than what is measured, that the one dimension measured by an instrument. That's first. So sound, you want the full sound, not only the measurement of one aspect. You want to consider everything, but the components shape that complex sound, and even the orientation of the capacitors can change the phase of the signal. And I've learned through the Betis episode 69, I believe, that even the digital signal is analog, and analog signal is extremely delicate. It's like thin water, nanoscopic water that is extremely fragile. So you want to take care of the cables and the connections and the capacitors and everything to maintain as much information possible in the signal. And that should be from the mic of the singer through the whole chain up to the vinyl or the digital file, and then from the file or the vinyl to the sound system up to the speakers. You want to take care as much as possible of the thin signal. God. It's pretty dense for a sub. I wonder why he Totem left the power supply inside the sub, because it used to be outside originally. This subwoofer, the components are extremely well chosen by Vince in terms of sound. There's a lot of R&D, but as well, the assembly. This subwoofer is not made in Montreal. This subwoofer is made in China, but they go there often to manage and maintain the quality control and make sure that the assembly respects the specs. So some of the little details about this subwoofer, the woofers are reinforced, so they're really thick, so to be much more agile and to carry more weight. The cabinet has less resonance. Now, there are some downsides. First, it's not made in the original factory. Second, so there's less quality control, unfortunately. Second, the power cable is set to go upward, which is bizarre. So the cord goes on the side and is visible. So I believe that's an error of conception. Or just a selection of the wrong cable. Another thing is that the power supply is inside the box, is concealed inside the box, so it vibrates with the bass, and that affects the signal. That's a first, but also the radio frequencies of the power supply affects the signal as well. So there's two bad consequences of that choice. So it was not that before. Originally, this sub was separated. The power supply was separated from the sub. Now it's inside. So also the finish cannot be the same finish as the Tribe Towers. So the Tribe Tower I have, it's the ice finish. That's not included with the sub. So actually, there could be an opportunity for higher end sub in the Totem Tribe lineup. Now, what about the sound? Well, it's all about speed and the melodicality, the musicality of the sound, and reproducing as much as possible the purity of the sound. So the bass is tight, agile, dynamic, real. You have no, you don't question the quality of the bass. Is it boomy? No. Is it heavy? No. There's different settings at the back, so you have frequencies, phase, and volume you can play with to shape the sound as you want it. There's also different settings you can get to get different bass, and it's a stereo. There's stereo inputs, so you can get both sides of the signal. So in clear, this sub is like a Ferrari. It's made for speed. It's the two small woofers are doubled, small cabinet, super sleek component, well placed, all for speed and the agility of the sound to recreate the harmonics. So you get a very natural bass, very pleasant bass that you might not even notice, as you're more focused on the music. So a lot of thinking and a lot of choices and real innovations in that tiny sub. I'm impressed by the realistic delivery of the bass. It's pleasant, musical, and you can listen to it for a long period of time. So, so Vince mentioned that when you play with capacitors, it's like doing a sauce recipe. It's very, each capacitor has a signature, and you compose different signatures. So it's not about having the best parts possible. It's about the combination of the capacitors and the implementation of the capacitors. So it's not only the item themselves, but it's also how you install them on the board and on in the equipment. Just the orientation of the capacitor changes the phase of the sound. So the whole concept of this sub is that bass comes from speed, and everything in this sub is designed to serve the function of speed. Small cabinet, two small woofers, so you double, you have greater density, you have higher speed, you have less resonance. All the components are chosen to boost the speed and to affect as less as possible the signal. Even the orientation and the assembly of the components. A lot of thinking and R&D have gone through this. But this is the Ferrari of the subs. Now, I've known Vince for 35 years. He was my high school math teacher, the founder of Totem. And he said at that time when I was 15, and I remember it because it marked me, it changed my perception on work. He said, I base my speakers on maths. I use mathematical formulas to develop my products. So I was amazed because he was not following the facts observed in the field. He was following an abstraction, a mathematical formula, an ideal. So he's extremely inspirational. He always have been inspirational for all his surroundings. I've heard only nice things of Vince Bruchesi for the last 35 years from his students, co-workers, and is in the market. There's even his competitors. So just nice words on this man because he's extremely inspirational and a true innovator. And he based his innovation not only on maths, physics, but also on electronics. He's well versed individual, and with his experience, his products serve are all at the service of sound and musicality. He's very specific on characteristic like phase, density, decay, tonality, musicality, even celestial. Like for him, it's a quest of absolute. It's a quest of perfection. And I truly believe him in his every little detail. He serves higher purposes. It's inspiring and people follow him. And it reflects in the products. Look at this. This looks like nothing in the market. There's a lot of breakthrough innovations in these. Alright, so for this recording session, I've unplugged my two speakers, so this one and this one. So you get only the sub. Also, I've chosen the track Circles by Mike Miller. So we'll hear the bass from that track. So let's not wait and go for it. He has made so much R&D that he said that his followers, so Alex and Nico and Alex, the two sons of the directors right now of the company, they've been in the company for 10 years and 25 years, I believe, so they're well versed in the company and the transition will be smooth. But they have, the next generation of owners have enough R&D already for tons of products. So I'm looking forward to see the next Totem products. R&D based on absolutes, based on maths, logic, to create musical sound. I'm looking forward to this. And I'm confident that the next generation will be well supported in terms of inspiration and in terms of quality of product. So again, this sub is not about the volume of air. Quality of bass is not about the volume of air. It's not about necessarily the diaphragm of the woofer. The size of the woofer can slow down the speed, and bass is mostly, the quality of bass, according to Vince Bruchesi, is mostly due to speed. So this subwoofer is conceived to serve the purpose of speed for the quality of sound. So thank you for watching this episode. I hope you learned a little bit about Totem, a little bit about bass, and a little bit about this channel. Feel free to subscribe. It's always appreciated if you want to see other contents like this one. Feel free also to buy me a coffee, and I would love to hear your comments on bass and this subwoofer if you have heard it, to learn more about Totem's products. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next episode.